I got a box. Do you guys want to see what's inside the box? Okay. What's in the box? Okay, here we go. Why, inside of this particular box is... Oh, would you look at that? It's a flyer for the movie One Piece Stampede, featuring Douglas Bullet. Oh, but that's not the only thing we have in here, is it? We have... Oh, would you look at that? Another identical flyer for the exact same movie. Huh. So identical, in fact, I wonder if there's something going on. Hold on. I think there's more in this box. Wait a second. Oh, would you look at that? Another one! There's a conspiracy. Hold up. No. They can't all be flyers for Stampede. Okay. So, thank you, Walker, for sending me all of these. I never really knew what I was gonna do with them, so I guess, we can talk about Douglas Bullet today. I mean, we got enough background decoration. I could literally plaster my entire door with nothing but these Stampede posters. Oh, do I really want to take the time out of my day to go and do that? Yes, of course I do. I'll be right back. Okay. That's about 20 minutes that I am never going to get back. But you know what? It was freaking worth it. Okay. So today, we're talking about Douglas Bullet, the enemy that Luffy has to overcome in the latest One Piece motion picture. One Piece. Hold on, I forgot the name really quick. Stampede, or Stampede, if you want to be, like, really intense with it, okay? So Douglas Bullet, how to describe him? Okay, well, this is a Doug, right here. Everybody recognizes this immediately as a Doug. Alright, cool. What you do is you take a Doug plus a bullet, and then you get this! Yeah, this is when Doug, he gets jacked after high school, yeah? When Patty dumped it. Wait, did Patty and Doug ever get together? I didn't really watch a lot of Doug growing up. Like, I would watch it if it was on, but it was like one of those shows that was like, you could kind of take it or leave it. But yeah, if Doug and Patty never got together, Doug, you know, he hit the gym, alright? Yeah, okay, he could withstand a Buster call now. He's leveled up, alright? So, the big debate out there, especially in the most recent chapters and with them, that SBS that just came out, you know, is Douglas Bullet, like, canon? Like, is he gonna be, like, Shiki in that regard? You know, like, he was a movie character, but, like, so was Shiki. And the weird thing is, he has backstory that is rooted in the story, like Shiki fought against Roger at the Battle of the Ed War. So, Bullet, though, was mentioned in the the Stampede little booklet that you get, you know, when you went to go see the movie. This was actually sent to me by Artie Dami. Thank you, Artie Dami. It was mentioned in this book, basically all of Bullet's backstory that is absent from the movie. And I really hate that. That really did detract from it in a big way. I saw the movie in theaters here in the States, and they did not give out the booklet there. And of course, there wasn't like an English version. This is in Japanese. There's Ann. Hey, Ann, how you doing? And even though, like, I didn't get the booklet, thankfully, of course, I'm a fan of, like, Library of Ohara, and he posted all about, like, the backstory and stuff of Bullet, and I read it somewhere online. Like, I pieced this all together before I went to go see the movie, so I had a decent idea, and I was expecting that kind of stuff to be brought up in the movie itself. It really doesn't. If you just sit down and watch the movie Stampede, just raw, you know, yeah, you're watching it raw. But no, if you watch it without reading this or going on the wiki and reading about Bullet's backstory or anything like that, you will be very disappointed in the character development of Bullet, because Bullet is just basically in the movie like, yeah, he's a really, really strong guy, and he was on Roger's crew, and he was part of like this military country a really long time ago, and he has the power of the Gasha Gasha no Mi, and he wants to wreck everybody's shit. And that's his character. He's like, and he don't need anybody. He's strong enough by himself. That's pretty much all you get from Bullet. At the very end of the movie, there are a few brief scenes. When I mean brief, I mean like one frame each, where we get like flashbacks to Bullet, like here he is crying blood, and here he is standing in just like a wasteland, like warscape, you know, and you get also a minor flashback with him and Roger, where Roger just beats the crap out of Bullet, and he hits the deck of the Oro Jackson, and Bullet's like, you know, you might have defeated me today, but I'm gonna beat you one day, Roger. And Roger's like, well, matey, come on and, you know, have at me anytime you like. I love a good bout, a good fight, a good round of fisticuffs. You know what I mean, Sonny? You know, that's basically all we get from Roger. Actually, just what I said is even more than we get in the movie. And so that's it. Like, really, Bullet is, you know, merely just like he's like the big musclehead archetype. He's Broly. He's Broly from the first, you know, incarnation of Broly back in like 1993. You know, Broly, Broly, Broly. You know, that kind of guy. You know, that's who he is. He's a big musclehead, and that's all he does. He does, you know, have dialogue and stuff, and he does have a backstory, and it's hinted at in the movie. Like, the Marines will mention like the disaster of Galsburg, and then Robin's like, Galsburg? That event involved him? You know, like, so we're hinted at stuff, but it's really not focused on Bullet. The movie isn't really. There's a lot of stuff going on in Stampede. There's a lot of characters crammed into it and all that stuff. But yeah, I was like still watching the movie, waiting for the stuff in this booklet to come up, and it just really never did in a meaningful way. So that's why I'm here. All right. So today we're gonna go through the backstory of Bullet, which is actually like quite a bit. Like, there's a lot of stuff to unpack here involved. And for those of you that say like, oh well, Bullet, we saw Roger's crew in Odin's flashback, Bullet wasn't present, they didn't talk about Bullet, so Bullet must not be canon. Then in the SBS we just got, you know, Oda went and he drew sketch art for all the members of Roger's crew. Bullet was not included, so therefore you're like, oh, I guess he's just not canon. Now look, I really don't think that Bullet is going to, you know, he's not going to play the same role that Shiki played. Shiki and Bullet, very different characters. Shiki was his own pirate captain, he had his own crew, and then they tied him back into the Rock's crew and everything like that. So, Shiki showing back up in the story, or at least being mentioned by, like, Sengoku and everything, that makes sense. You know, Bullet, though, I don't really see him popping back up, okay? But I still believe he was canon, and everything that we've seen in the Odin flashback doesn't really take that away. All right, so first off, let's first and foremost, let's just go through a timeline of Bullet's life, all right? So, when he was born, he was abandoned by his parents, and he was born in the country of Galsburg. And I actually wanted to check to see if there was a basis for this anywhere, because, you know, Oda takes a lot of references from our world and he incorporates it into One Piece. Now, remember, Oda did not, like, write out the entire screenplay for the movie, but he was responsible for creating Douglas Bullet. And when you're dealing with stuff involving Roger's crew, and the whole premise of the movie Stampede is they're looking for they're trying to get the treasure for the Eternal Pose to Laugh Tale. So Oda definitely had a lot of involved here with the creation of Bullet's character and his backstory and all that stuff. So all this stuff's coming from Oda, all right? So I wanted to check to see if there was a country similar to Galsburg somewhere in our world or something he took the reference to. So funny enough, and I don't know if this is what Oda was going for, anybody that's a big fan of the Metal Gear games, I've never really played Metal Gear at all. Never played a single one, honestly. They look like fun games. I'd be interested in playing them, and of course I know all about Snake and everything like that, just references and everything all over the internet. But there is a country in South Africa, or a location in South Africa, that is called Galsburg in the Metal Gear games. Now, even with that, I don't think it's like a major, you know, place. I think it's just like offhandedly mentioned from what I understand. It was just a place that was mentioned, like, oh yeah, there was an air raid and the area of the place of Galsburg was just annihilated off the map. And I think that's all that's mentioned. But any Metal Gear aficionados out there, it's like, that's your time to shine. Like, somebody's watching this right now, like, I've played every Metal Gear game. Tekking wants to know Metal Gear stuff. Okay, Tekking. You know, well, Galsburg, it's interesting you should mention. I don't know, but maybe Oda played Metal Gear at some point and he's like, Galsburg. Maybe if nothing else, it sounded cool and he incorporated it into One Piece. Also, it's a location in South Africa, a fictional location in South Africa, but, you know, South Africa, a lot of countries there that are, like, you know, filled with, like, you know, war-torn, you know, places and stuff like that. I had a friend, when I was in college, I was the president of my anime club there, at my anime club. I owned it! I keep doing that. My college, my anime club! But no, I was president of the anime club there, and I had a vice president that her family was in the military, and she was raised in Africa, and she would tell me stories about how she lived in this village with, like, these giant, like, you know, brick walls, like a fortification around it, and they were telling you, don't go outside the walls, it's not good in this area. So, a lot of war-torn places in Africa, so maybe Oda, I don't know, but he was like, I want to base Galsburg off of, like, a war-torn African nation, you know, like just immersed in a civil war, and then he saw the word Galsburg, maybe from playing Metal Gear, and he's like, you know what? Fine, I'll incorporate it in One Piece. That's what he does. Now, we don't know much about Galsburg, which means I could probably make a 25-minute Geography is Everything video about it, but we do know it's a winter island, and it has lots of war. And that's pretty much it. Also, they fought against the German Double Six way back in the day. Odd way to connect everything back, but it's a way to connect everything back. Basically, the situation was when Bullet was born, his family was abandoned, and he became basically a soldier, okay? He was given the title of Douglas. That's what it says, the title of Douglas. So Douglas is, and there's another character called Douglas Gray. So that was like his commanding officer. So it seems like in the land of Galsburg, or it was, I guess it would be Galsburg, Galsburg, whichever. Like, Douglas is a title rather than, like, your first name, all right? And I looked into any significance with that. Like, his name is written in katakana, so there's really nothing more to that. But, yeah, it's interesting in that sense. So he was given the title of Douglas, and then his name was Bullet, because he was expendable. Do you get it? You know, they round up all the children of this war-torn nation, and they're just like, you kids are gonna be child soldiers. We're gonna fire you indiscriminately at the enemy. You're expendable. Your names are Bullet. Kind of on the nose there, but that's what they were doing, okay? So, yeah, children soldiers fighting in your Civil War. Yeah, that's about right when it comes to the tragic backstories of One Piece. By the way, all this stuff happened before he was even 9 years old, all right? This is just the backstory. This is just his childhood. These are his formative years, okay? So, he was raised in this environment, and he was a really good soldier. Like, he was ruthless, and he was way tougher than the other children, and he you know, vaunted to get this thing called the medal. There was a medal that you could win in Galsburg where it's like every year, this war had been going on for so long, like they basically, like, every year we give out an award to the person that contributed to the war the best, or like had the most achievements during the war. You know, this war had been raging on for literally, I think, like decades or something. So at some point they just started enacting an award ceremony for every, like, oh well, that's another year of warfare. Okay, now the award ceremony. In fact, this war had been going on for so long, that's all this country knew. So it started structuring its entire culture around it, okay? So, you can imagine Bullet. I want you to picture Bullet at a young age, basically being taught, like, this is your single purpose in life. Fight! Fight! Win! We're the allies, they're the enemies. Destroy them. And if you succeed, you get a shiny medal. And that's all Bullet at like the age of 5 was like, okay, yeah, shiny medal. Okay, I want that shiny medal. So he started beating the crap out of the enemy to the point where his like his comrades, his other, like the other children that are fighting alongside him were basically like, oh man, he's too strong. He's gonna try to take the medal for himself. But Bullet eventually did end up claiming the medal for himself. So good job, Bullet. By the age of 9, he was already revered as, like, one of the strongest soldiers in the entire army, even compared to the adults. He was the strongest. Really tough dude. By the age of 13, he was basically at his limit. Like, there was a moment where I guess the enemy had surrounded him and was bombarding the crap out of the area he was in, and he was hunkered down, and there was no escape. But luckily, there just happened to be a devil fruit nearby. Of course. We don't really get much about that. It's just like, yeah, at the age of 13, he was at his wit's end, and he was about, like, ready to die on the battlefield when all of a sudden he's, okay. And then he got the power of the Gasha no Mi, the gasket fruit, it gives him complete control over any mechanical device, or over any piece of engineering, essentially. So, kind of like Kid's Fruit, sort of, but not really. It's actually more similar to Law's Opinomi than it would be to Kid's. Kid's is simple magnetism. He takes anything that has a magnetic charge to it, and he can pull it together, any metal, and he can make, weapons, and he can make giant arms and stuff like that, and he can make swords out of metal and scrap iron and stuff like that. But what Bullet is doing is he's literally assimilating the engineering into himself to create whole new things. So basically, it's like, whereas Law's Opinomi is he's a surgery human that's able to reconstruct the human body however he basically wants, Bullet is an engineering, a mechanical human that can restructure any piece of, machine to whatever he wants. So he has a submarine called the Catapult, awesome name by the way, and he can restructure that submarine into a battle mech whenever he desires. He can take all the weapons from inside that submarine and incorporate it into his own mech suit whenever he so desires. He can make any random piece of metal, he can also combine that together, but in a more, whereas Kid could just combine it together and just mass it together in a giant lump, Kid can actually take, the parts and pieces from ships, like marine vessels, incorporate them into himself, but not just, sticking them to his body. He can move around the gaskets and the gears and the boilers from inside the ships and restructure them to make a giant mechanical kaiju. Yes? Okay, so just rather useful devil fruit to just be found lying around in a war-torn land, but okay, he finds that, and I'm assuming he just, wrecks whatever enemy was giving him trouble at that point. He also has to have some skill in, some body shop work. You take your car to Bullet, it might come back looking like a giant mechanical crab, but, man, it'll be tuned up. It'll be fixed up, I'll tell you that much. Alright. So, at age 14, the war finally ends. And once again, this was a war that had been raging on for decades and decades. Really long time, this perpetual war between Galsburg and this other nation. Finally, the war ends, and it ends directly because of Bullet. Bullet was a 14-year-old teenager with the power to reconstruct metal and machines, and he ended it. So yeah, Shanks, you got a lot to live up to. Shanks shows up and he's like, I'm here to end this war. Okay, if we're being straight up, Marineford wasn't even a war. It lasted a couple hours. It was like a skirmish at best. It was a battle. Okay, fine. And then Shanks shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm ready here, Shanks. I'm here to end this battle that's been going on for what, since noon, it's not even sunset yet, and it's like, okay, fine. Bullet, though, Bullet is the man. He's like, oh, okay, I got the power now! And he creates, giant machine kings to, annihilate, assimilate, destroy. And then, this other country that they've been like, man, we've been fighting Galsburg for the last couple of decades now. We've been at our wits' end before, but, they got giant mechanical kaijus fighting us now, so I think we should probably, they just take the flag and just wave the surrender flag. I'm like, sorry. So the war ends, but it's not all peaches and cream for Bullet at this point. See, basically his commanding officer was Douglas Gray that I mentioned. That was the closest thing, by the way, Bullet had to a father, like a commanding officer. He probably wasn't the nurturing kind of father either. He was probably like a drill sergeant kind of father. And the war finally ended, though, but Bullet, along with the rest of the army from Galsburg, and probably the surrendering army from the other nation they fought, all directly turned on Bullet. As you could probably imagine, because you saw what he got up to in the movie. Imagine fighting this. If, that is a big enough threat that, both warring sides that have been in constant conflict for years would look at that and they'd be like, alright, so we surrender Galsburg, but we should honestly deal with that. And he's like, you know what? Yeah, you're kind of right. You want to work together on this operation? Okay, so I don't think it's actually expressly said that the enemies turned on him, but I wouldn't be surprised, considering Bullet was that much of a threat. So, Bullet got chased out of the only country he'd ever known. Isn't that messed up? That's kind of messed up. It's like, he was born in a war-torn country. The only thing he knew how to do was just destroy and fight. And you'd think like, okay, this is a country that obviously does not have a stable government. This is the perfect place for him in that regard. But even they have handled too much. Even they get to the point where like, we can't even handle you anymore. And they just kick him out of there. And so he becomes a pirate, just traveling the seas, getting into fights and conflicts and stuff. Kind of similar to Robin in that regard, where Robin, she was such a threat. She was wanted so much by the world government, even when Robin teamed up with other pirates, and the pirates were like, yeah, we don't care about your past, Robin. Just work for our crew. Even then, the world government attacks like, get off of our ship, Robin. Even the pirates of the world, you can't be, you can't be safe with because of, the situation with you. Kind of in that regard. So he travels the world. At age 15, he joins Roger's crew. All right, now this is very, very critical, okay? Right now in the current storyline, Douglas Bullet was 45 when he fought Luffy at the Pirate Fest in the movie Stampede. He was 45 years old, okay? So when he was 15, that would have been 30 years ago. That was the same year that Whitebeard landed at Wano and Oden joined his crew. And Oden and Inuarashi and Nekomamushi and Izo and eventually Toki started traveling together, okay? It was also the same time when we got this scene in chapter, I wrote everything down, chapter 964. We got that scene right there where Buggy and Shanks were looking at the paper on some random island, and Roger was looking at the paper, and he's like, so a samurai from Wano, though. Me and my mustache would like to meet him. By the way, Barry, where is your mustache? God dang, I can't believe this. Gotta be kidding me, Barry. This is a video involving Roger, kind of. Should be wearing the mustache. All right, there we go. Gotta do everything myself. There you go, Barry. Okay, so at this point right here, keep in mind, it was 30 years ago. This could have been right before Bullet joined, or it could have been right after. But it still works in the context of the manga, because all we see is a wide shot of the Oro Jacksons sailing the seas. We see Buggy and Shanks by themselves just reading the paper, and then we see Roger. We don't see Rayleigh, we don't see anybody else. So it's totally possible that during this scene right here, Bullet could have already been on the crew at age 15. By the way, we get some artwork from Bullet at a younger age. Of course, this is what he looks like, now at age 45. But we get some artwork when he was very young, and then a little bit of artwork when he was a little bit older. And so we don't get an exact, we don't know how old he is in either of these. But I'm going to assume this one, where he's the youngest, this is probably right around the time the war ended, because he looks like a teenager here. He doesn't look like a little kid. So I'm assuming right here, he was probably around 13, 14, 15 years old when he ate the Gashigashinomi and the war finally ended. He looked like this. And then here's when he's a little bit older, and he was 15 when he joined Roger's crew, and he was 18 when he left. So I like to think maybe this is right around when he left the crew, 18, 19, maybe something like that, maybe even his early 20s, something like that. That's the different artwork for that. So yeah, he joined Roger's crew, and then at age 17, he found out about Roger's illness, and then at age 18, he left the crew, okay? Him and Roger, for those 3 years that he was on Roger's crew, so keep in mind, only 3 years Bullet was part of this, he fought Roger constantly. He's like, I gotta be stronger than you. Roger wipes the floor with him every single time. Eventually, he finds out about his illness, and he's like, eventually, he's not gonna be, like, an illness is gonna take him. It's not even gonna be a strong warrior. So maybe, because Bullet did respect Roger, he did look up to him, and to the point where people started calling him the Demon Heir, So, not because Roger was like, aye, matey, you're gonna be my successor. Nothing like that, but just because he was so direct with it. He just wanted to overcome Roger so much. The people on the crew probably just started calling him like that. Like, oh, he's the Demon Heir, because he really wants to pass Roger, and he probably won't succeed, but, that's what he wants to do, and he does it so forcefully and so violently, we'll call him the Demon Heir. All right. So he fights Roger constantly, always loses. Finally, right before he leaves the crew, he fights him one more time. I believe that was the scene that we saw in the movie, the very brief moment where Roger beats the crap out of him once again, floors him. And, Bullet's like, I don't need you, I don't need anybody. And he leaves. Okay, so when he left the crew at age 18, that would have been 27 years ago, before the current storyline. Do you know when we actually get to see Oden and, we see Oden join Roger's crew, and then Roger and Whitebeard, they fight on that island, and we got to see that really cool clash, and we got to see all of Roger's crew as Oden is traveling with them? That was 26 years ago. Yeah, that whole scene when they arrive on the island and they start fighting, and, Buggy sees Blackbeard or Teach, and he's like, that guy doesn't sleep. All that happened after Bullet left. All right? So this still could fit in the canon of the story. Sure, they don't mention him, but why would they? What's the point in it? He left over a year ago. Why would you, keep bringing him up constantly, especially to enemy pirates? I know Whitebeard and Roger kind of got along, but they were still rivals, so there'd be no real reason to bring him up. Like, oh, Whitebeard, it's been a while. Yeah, how you been, you old dog? Well, I've been fine, Roger. You're looking pretty fine yourself. Nice mustache. Oh, yeah, fine one yourself. Anyway, this kid named Bullet left my crew last year. Like, why would he bring that up unless he, unless Whitebeard directly asked him about it? By the way, they could have still mentioned it. We weren't privy to every single line of, dialogue during that exchange. They battled on that island for, 3 days, then they partied for, another 3 days. They might have mentioned him at some point. Maybe Whitebeard would have been like, hey, Roger, last time I fought your crew, there was that really tough kid, It was like, oh, yeah, Bullet. Well, we had a bit of a disagreement. He headed out on his own. I wish him the best. Glug, glug. Might have been something like that, we just weren't privy to that information. But it makes sense that he wasn't there. Like, when Odin joined, and Scopper and everybody were like, Odin, don't think we're just going to accept you on this crew. There's a reason why Bullet wasn't in the background. And all the sketch art that we got from the SBS, that was very clearly, it seemed like the sketch art that was just the crew that Oda, the new people that he drew. Yes, Shanks and Buggy were involved, but he also left out Odin. Oda did not draw Odin in those sketches, and he also didn't give us sketches of Inuarashi or Nekomamushi, but they were part of the crew at one point, so maybe Oda was just being selective, or maybe he didn't feel it was necessary to draw Bullet, because there's a whole sketchbook about Bullet. I don't know, because he drew Buggy and Shanks, and Roger, and Rayleigh, and Crocus, and Scopper, and everybody, characters we're already aware of, but yeah. Okay. So, a year, though, this is something, honestly, this is the weirdest one right here. That honestly can be explained, because that actually fits with the timeline. The next thing is actually a little curious. A year after he left Roger's crew, so when he was 19 years old, 26 years ago, this was the year when Whitebeard and Roger crashed. While they were in the middle of doing that on that random island in the New World, Bullet fought against Crocodile. Yeah. Weird, huh? Crocodile would have been 20 years old at this point. He was a year older than Bullet. And the fight ended in a draw. Now, the weird thing about that is, I was under the impression Crocodile did not head out to sea to become a pirate until after Roger's execution, because that's the thing that inspired him to go out to sea. He eventually fought against Whitebeard. He lost. Probably the reason he lost his hand, fought against Whitebeard. I just assumed before that he was maybe just a small town thug, or he wasn't really a pirate. But according to this, if we're going by this continuity, he fought Crocodile 2 years before Roger was executed. So, was Bullet just randomly traveling, I guess, the Grand Line and just ran into him? And did Crocodile have his sand powers at this point? Was he already a pirate before Roger's execution? I'm not really sure. Maybe he was a thug. Maybe he was just going out and doing his own thing, running his criminal syndicate. But then Roger got executed at Logtown, and he's like, you know what? I never really paid much attention to, treasure or pirate life. Because, Crocodile's more of, an elegant kind of Bond villain sort of guy. But he's like, you know what? I'm inspired by this man, Roger. I'm inspired by his death. I'm inspired by his last words. I'm going to go out to sea. I'm going to try to find this damn treasure. And then he attempts it, and it doesn't go over too well. Eventually, Whitebeard defeats him, and he goes and founds Baroque works. So, that kind of gives us a little bit of an idea into Crocodile's life, a little bit. He was doing something else before Roger's execution, before he was inspired to do that. He was already kind of involved. He was already a really strong fighter, if nothing else. Even if he fought Bullet back then and it ended in a draw, that's pretty damn good, right? Okay. Even if Bullet, yeah, he was weaker back then, and it even mentions in the booklet, when he trained in Impel Down, that is when he reached his physical peak. When he trained in Impel Down. He trained in Impel Down for 20-something years in his cell, just doing, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run around his cell every single day. I mean, there's really not much else to do in level 6, okay? But yeah, I mean, that was Bullet, right? So, and that's he reached his physical peak. When he was 21 years old, that's when Roger was executed 24 years ago. When he was 22, that was when he was captured. An entire Buster Call, including Sengoku and Garp, had to go in order to finally bring him in. But they did bring him in, and they locked him in level 6 Impel Down when he was 22. Then he stayed in that cell for the next 21 years, and then 2 years ago, before the start of the, before the time skip, when Blackbeard broke into Impel Down level 6, we see that in the opening of Stampede. He, is like, oh, all of you men, you can fight, and whoever survives, I'll take you with me on me crew. and then all the people get slaughtered in the cells, and he takes Vasco Shot and Katarina and Avala Pizarro and San Juan Wolf and everybody. Shiryu's with them, and the one person though that did get, you know, like the champion of the cell, they see Bullet there, but Teach is like, oh, no, leave that one, not him. I can't believe he's still alive. Like, Blackbeard was a little bit like, yeah, we're not taking him with us. No way. He's like so much of a big deal, like even Teach didn't want to handle him, right? Also, Burn the World. I guess Burn D and Bullet maybe might have been friends down there. They're down there in the cells, and they're just like, damn it, he lied to us, Bullet, we didn't get out. He's like, oh, well, whatever. I would laugh so hard, because we still don't know how Bullet got out of Impel Down. We know that they rioted, and they just like Blackbeard's challenge was destroy everybody like in their cells, and then whoever survives, I'll unlock them and come with me. But he didn't unlock Bullet's cell. He didn't even approach it. He was too scared. So, or at least intimidated. So, how exactly did Bullet get out? maybe he could have left whenever he wanted, and he was just like, I didn't want to, but now that this all nonsense is going on and he's hearing about all this crazy stuff with like Whitebeard and everybody, he just like, whatever, and just kicks the door open, and Burndy's like, wait, you could have done that the whole time? He's like, ugh. And Bullet rips off Burndy's sound. He's like, if you want to leave, come on, I'm not taking you with me. All right, whatever. I'm going to go try to find my little brother and have my giant, phallic-shaped cannon to obliterate islands. All right, you do that. I'm going to go join up with this Afro dude and start a pirate festival. All right. We're really tough, but we have weird plans. Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, nice rooming with you for the last 20 years. Yeah, you too, Burndy. They just leave. That'd be kind of funny. But yeah, so he gets freed. He joins up with Bueno Festa at some point, gets a really sweet bomber jacket with a chain attached to it, and then they set up the Pirate Fest, and from that moment onward, you can pretty much connect the dots when you go and watch the movie Stampede. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's on DVD and Blu-ray for you today. You also rent it on plenty of sources online, so yeah. But yeah, that is just the backstory of Bullet, right? That's everything we find out. And you know what? After explaining all that stuff, don't you like kind of want that to be in the movie, at least a little bit, like a flashback involving the Battle of Galsburg, or him eating the fruit, or him fighting Crocodile, or him fighting Roger, or him fighting against the giant Buster Call? Like, I know there's a lot of stuff in this movie, and I know the final climax is insane. Plus that entire moment where freaking Bullet just wrecks the entire Supernova's collective shit, beats the crap out of them, then they try to work together and they still get the crap beat out of them. He's just like, BAM! 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 Double bam with freaking Kid and Killer. He just grabs their head and rams them together. He just obliterates, one of Hawkins's lives like that. Beiji goes into his big fada, and freaking, Bullet's like just deflecting the cannon fire with his arms, and he just punches Big Father in the face. Bonnie shows up, tries to regress him into a shot. Bonnie got it worse. I thought they were gonna maybe take it a little bit easy on her because she's the only female in the entire Supernovas, but no, freaking Bullet is not sexist. Bullet just, equal opportunity. He's just like, oh no, okay. She just grabs her leg and just BAM! Just slams her into the freaking ground. Hardcore. Damn, Bullet don't care. Right? Man. Oh, man. Bullet, let me tell you, man, he is not just strong. He is stronk. Like Kronk. Yeah, I was locked in level 6 for a couple years, but, time to stretch my legs a little bit there. I can't do a good Patrick Warburton. I'm sorry. But anyway, so Bullet, I guess in the canon of the manga right now, because of like the events of the movie obviously didn't take place in the canon. That's something important to mention, of course, obviously. I guess by that logic, Bullet is either still in level 6 or he escaped and we probably will never hear from him again. Maybe he decided to turn his life over. Maybe he decided to change it. It's like, well, I tried to do this whole thing where I went on my own, but people just keep fighting me at some point. I ended up locked in here for 20-something years. you know what? It's a character like Bullet where you actually sometimes wonder, like, how the hell did they even get him in Impel Down? Like, I know Sengoku and Garp are really strong, but how did they manage to keep him in Impel Down? You'd think he, of all people, would have broken out. Somebody's like, no. He's just like, no. He's like Uncle Iroh. He's like, no. I'm not gonna stop until my muscles are so strong they can, like, you know, just, like, create diamonds, you know? Like, they can even crush diamond. They could crush Sea Prism. That's how he did it. He trained so much, he could literally crush the Sea Prism, destroy his cuffs. You know what? If any character could do it, because Sea Prism is often regarded as, like, the strongest material in the entire One Piece world, and nobody could break it, even like a really tough guy, you know, couldn't, like a Rouge couldn't break through it probably. If Bullet could do it, I could buy that, like, totally, 100%, right? So we talked about his devil fruit a little bit. I just wanted to show you some more images there, because in the movie theater, it was actually kind of really dark, so it was kind of hard to see exactly the full form of what he took. But now, since then, there's been some concept art, and I got some screenshots from the movie itself, so check this out here. It has, like, antlers to it. Like, it's kind of hard to see in the movie, because it's also, like, CG. It's a very interesting mix of CG. It works rather well, and it's really dark and kind of, like, gloomy when he uses the power. Like, the sky goes red, like a dark red, and there's constant, like, dust, you know, like, swirling around his giant form, so it's kind of hard to see. But yeah, he looks like this, and he creates, like, he can combine, he's a master of armament hockey. That's definitely his specialty, but he also has his Conqueror's hockey as well. That's even stronger than Luffy. Near the end of the movie, he goes full Blue Hulk. You know, I mentioned that when I did the Stampede movie review. It's just like, he just goes Blue Hulk at the end, and just like, Luffy's goes, like, he goes Red Hulk, essentially, because it's like a clash between red and blue, like the contrasting colors, and then Luffy goes into his, like, King Kong gun, and at that point, it's like straight up video game physics and video game, like Mortal Kombat insane fatalities, but, like, amped up to an insane level. You know, it's just like Luffy has this giant fist the size of a mountain that just obliterates freaking Bullet. It's insane. Ugh. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But Bullet, hopefully by the end at least of the movie, because Luffy doesn't kill people, and I don't think Bullet died. They just, like, he beat the crap out of Bullet, and he's destroyed, and I'm guessing, I think in the movie, the Marines take him back to Impel Down. That's, like, how his thing ended in the movie. But maybe at this point he'll turn over a new leaf. He'll change. He'll learn that he needs to work with others in order to make his life truly meaningful. That was another thing that was kind of weak about the character. I mean, really, it was just like, I don't need anybody. I can do everything myself. And Luffy's like, shut up! You have to rely on others to get stronger! And I'm like, okay, Luffy, like, I get it. It's just, oh god, this has been the plot of so many anime movies I've seen throughout the years. Like, you have to believe in your others, you have to have friends, you can't do anything by yourself. Honestly, I think Bullet did pretty damn good by himself. Honestly, I think he got pretty damn far. He wrecked all of the supernovas without even really spraining his pinky. I think he did pretty good for himself, you know, right? But yeah, anyway, he'll be carted away, and he'll have to reassess his life choices a bit. I'll tell you what you need to do, man. You need to go open a bakery, like, immediately. Oh, I do like making souffles. I remember one time back in Galsburg, I beat the crap out of this village, like the entire village I just punched. And there was this old grandma that was making souffles. And I kind of felt sort of bad about crushing her house on her body. But the souffle was delicious. Now, man, I'll tell you what you need to get into. Knitting. You can use the needles to, like, you know, attack people. Yeah, I get you. Once again, I'm not even trying to do a Patrick Warburton, but I was in the shower last night thinking of this video, and I was just thinking of, like, for some reason, all the Kronk jokes started popping into my head, and I'm trying to do my best Patrick Warburton in the shower, and I'm like, I'm not good at this, but whatever. We'll just go right into it. It should probably be funny. Alright, but anyway, that was Douglas Bullet, the Demon Heir. I'm gonna go and take all these Stampede posters down now. I'm thinking, I wanted to go and do my first panel at a anime convention at Tekko this year. Tekko is usually held at the beginning of April, because of everything that's been going on. They moved it back to late June, I think like June 25th, the weekend of June 25th, they're going to have it now. I still don't know if that's going to happen because we don't know how long this is going to continue. But as long as whenever like this is all over with and the conventions are back and I can go and do, you know, a convention, I hope to do a panel. And maybe I can bring these all with me and I can, like, because they're blank on the back, maybe I can sign autographs and I can do that kind of stuff with these. Because, yeah, I gotta have some use for them other than just make this. When I move out, this is just gonna be my wallpaper. Like, I'm gonna go into a room and I'm just gonna be like, all right, well, we need to re-wallpaper this. And, you know, I have the material. All right, well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. This will be Tekking101 signing out.